What's up, bro? I hope you're doing well. And I want you to imagine that you are building a house. And this house, how would you go about building this house? Well, it's a pretty obvious step, isn't it? You go from the bottom, then a little bit up, and then finally getting up to the most highest point of the house, which would be the roof. And the thing is, you start building at the very bottom. And this bottom part, you have to make sure it's strong. Why should you make sure of that? Because imagine you are here, you are building this house, and then you're like, okay, but let's build the next already. Let's build the next one already. And what happens is that it starts to crumble because you haven't supplied the foundation with enough supplies and stability, and it's going to crumble down. And honestly, you'd look pretty stupid if that would happen. Like imagine tinkering around on the roof and getting those screws in, and then oh shit, ooh, okay, that's crumbling. Yeah, this was not a good idea. You'd look pretty stupid, and honestly, rightfully so. So let's say that you thought about this scenario and you were like, okay, this is not going to happen to me. And what you thought instead is strengthen the foundations. So you took materials, you took strong materials, you took a lot of materials, and made that foundation really strong so that everything at the top can be built up. And this is the same for everything in your life. If you have strong foundations in whatever your endeavor is, I don't really know what it is. It might be business, it might be fitness, it might be whatever. It really doesn't matter. The point is that if you have really strong foundations in the things that you are passionate for, those things are going to be things that you are going to excel in. I'm going to take martial arts as an example. I go to martial arts quite a lot. And the thing is, my trainer is a real beast there. I'm not gonna lie, that guy is a really strong person. And the thing is, he told us once that he doesn't know much more than we do in terms of actual information, like cool moves and this kick there and that choke there and stuff like that. He is like, I don't really know much more than you, but I know it on a much deeper level, and I've studied it, practiced it for such a long time. And this is what really resonated with me, because he hasn't practiced much else in comparison to me or in comparison to the other people there, but he has practiced it for such a long time. He has been on those foundations for years and years and refining them and getting them more into shape and getting them more in order, and damn, those refinements really show, because none of us really have a candle to him. He's on a next quantum leap in comparison to us, to say the least. In martial arts, the reason we learn the fundamentals a lot is for two reasons. Number one is that it keeps the base, your baseline, very strong. And if that baseline is kept very strong, no matter what comes above it, that will not collapse down. If you if you have really strong materials for the base of your house is not going to collapse. If you build it on some shitty materials, to say the least, then it's not going to hold up. And that's number one. And number two is that it will allow you to branch into the other things a lot easier. Because imagine if you know the basics and really well. You know those basics by heart, and you will be able to make much faster progress than the person that's like, okay, I know the fundamentals, yeah, it's okay, I'll go to the next thing now. If you practice them deliberately for a long time, man, it makes a big difference. I'll take the example of drumming. In drumming, if you know the eighth note groove, which is like toot, ch, toot, ch. If you know that, then you are already quantum leaps above the person that's like, oh, I have to get this down, and he's got it down, but it's still very how should I say this? It's still very brittle. It's like, dude, I'm about to lose rhythm. And if you're going at it without any problems, you're going to be able to branch out much faster into let's say a blast beat than the other person. That is very powerful, because he'll be struggling. You both know the same thing, but he'll still be struggling at your level. And while you are at, so to speak, the same level in terms of knowledge, you will be much further ahead simply because you know the technique a lot better because you've practiced a lot more. So my advice to you is that you start doing the things that get you better at the fundamentals, because if you get those fundamentals down, everything after that will be much, much easier. And if you just get them down, the learning process will also be a lot better. So while this is like a pretty unsexy answer of, okay, focus on the fundamentals, and sure, it might be pretty boring and you can't do like the really cool and nice stuff, this is the thing that you need to do to get to that point. Because if you like start doing like the roundhouse kick to the head before knowing how to do like a standard front kick, you are not going to get far, or you will not be able to perform a handstand before you even know how to do a push-up. So yeah, that is all I have to say. And one more thing, which is make sure to note the activities in your journal right here. I'm going to show you in a moment. Take the things that are really important to you at the moment, and those activities, list down what the fundamentals are. And once you have them down, work on those fundamentals, because once you get them down to a T, man, everything else is really going to fall into line. So here you go. I hope the screen is not inverted, but there you go. I like this is Kung Fu, and this is a like I don't know. This is probably not going to be very relatable. But the YouTube part, which is getting better on camera, which I'm doing right now because I'm deliberately practicing on speaking. And while I do have my notes, I'm looking into the camera almost the whole time. While my speech isn't perfect, the more practice goes into this, the better it's going to get. Thumbnails and titles, I'm working on that every single day, and audio and video quality is a bit of a difficult problem because that's monetary. But those are the things that I can improve on, and it's your turn now to take your journal and take the thing that's really important to you at the moment. In that thing, note those fundamentals down, and those fundamentals are the thing that you should be practicing. And with that said, I thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and see you next time.